President Jacob Zuma has instructed the Minister of Finance, Mr. Pravin Gordhan, and Deputy Minister Mcebisi Jonas to cancel the International Investment Promotion Roadshow to the United Kingdom and United States and return to South Africa immediately. This is breaking news coming through this afternoon. The reasons for that recall is not yet known, but let's discuss this further. We are joined now on the phone line by Somadoda Fikine, political analyst. Good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining us here on ANN7. It has now been confirmed that President Jacob Zuma has asked the Minister of Finance to return to South Africa. But the big question behind this now is why and what the reason behind that would be. Your view?
Well, I do think that this is a strong signal that you may have a cabinet reshuffle soon. And also it is another signal that there is some level of low trust between Treasury and the Presidency, which is coming to a head at this moment, especially if he had given Treasury ministers to permission to travel, and all of a sudden this is cancelled. It is usually a preparation for cabinet reshuffle.
Now, with regards to this news, it may suggest another or some sort of crisis in the mind of the public, in the mind of South Africans. How do you view this?
It may not necessarily be a crisis, but it may be a moment of difficulty in the relationship between two key roles, the Presidency and the Treasury. And as such, it may create a sense of instability amongst the international investors, because if you do have instability, then surely you can't have certainty in policy terms. You can't have certainty in terms of the Minister of Treasury that you are discussing with, if there's always a threat that there might actually be changes.
There's been a lot of controversy around the Minister of Finance, Pravin Gordhan. Do you think any of the controversy and the debate around the Minister of Finance that we've seen over the last couple of months could have had an impact on this decision?
Cumulatively, yes, it will and has had an effect. It is an open secret that the relationship between the President and those who are supportive of the President has not been very good with the Minister of Finance. Some of them have even called for him to be removed from his post. And as such, those who have raised concerns around the President and some business associates of the President have also raised the issues, in support of the Minister of Finance. So even when any move is taken, it will be interpreted beyond just the two individuals interacting.
Well, with regards to, the other side of the coin and people seeing, the Minister of Finance going overseas in order to boost investor confidence, he's gone there to try and do something positive. A lot of people are of the opinion or concerned that this recall was unnecessary. Your views?
Well, I don't think it was necessary. Once a person is abroad, you would have a more tactical approach in terms of winding down any such trip and say just finish a few things and try to reschedule the other trips that you are going to have. It wouldn't raise as much alarm as the SOS, which says come back soon, cancel everything, and including some of them which may incur some costs because there might have been some arrangements for the meetings, venues booked, and even trips booked.
Well, thank you very much, Somadoda Fikine, for speaking to us this afternoon. We appreciate your views and your comments. We are going to continue getting comment coming through here on ANN7 with regards to this news coming in. Joining us on the phone line now to discuss this further is Professor Sipho Siepe, political analyst as well. Good afternoon to you, Professor. Thank you for joining us here on ANN7. A lot of questions around the presidency coming forward and now confirming that they have asked the Minister of Finance and the people traveling with him to return to South Africa. The big question is why? Your views?
Well, for now, the facts are, as you put it, that the minister has been asked to come back. And everything outside that is simply mere speculation. But one thing that we can make is that it's very unusual for the president to call a minister who had actually gone overseas. And what it might mean are a number of things. One, it could be, as some people speculate, that if the president had not okayed the trip, then it would be irregular for any minister to have gone out. Secondly, it could be that there's an emergency that needs to be addressed, that the president feels that strongly about. And those are the only two things that one can actually put as a possibility. One, an emergency, or one is where the president was not consulted sufficiently about the trip. And of course, if the first is true, then there is nothing amiss about a president calling a minister who might have transgressed the processes that lead to a minister being allowed to go abroad. We've also seen that happen in the past, where President Thabo Mbeki did call back a deputy minister of health who was serving at that time. And his argument and the reasons was that the trip had not been authorized. So what we need to do is to stick to the facts, not to get into spaces where we simply express our own positions on issues. At the moment, until we have clarity, either from the minister or from the president, what comes out is simply mere speculation. But in this country, we get overly excited and start putting ideas around promotion of the country, lack of promotion of the country, as if all ministers are not engaged in the process of promoting this country.
Thank you very much, Professor, for your comments and your views. We're going to have to leave it there for now. Professor Sipho Siepe joining us there on the phone line. But we are going to continue this discussion and continue to get views and comments coming in here on ANN7. Joining us now is Tsepo Khadima, political analyst as well. Good afternoon to you, Tsepo. It has now been confirmed that the presidency has asked the Minister of Finance to return from the UK and US a planned trip. Just your initial reaction and view.
Well, I think it's going to be very important that both the presidency as well as National Treasury very expeditiously come out with the reasons on why the minister and his team have been ordered to return to South Africa. But if indeed it is true that they were ordered to return to South Africa because the trip was itself not authorized as required in the very first instance, that would be unforgivable because we are talking about a minister who has been a minister for over 8 years now. And ordinarily he would be knowing that there can be no official trip taken by any minister or any member of cabinet without proper authorization from the president's office. So that would be unforgivable. But I think when I first heard of the trip in the first instance to both the United Kingdom as well as the United States, my first reaction was to lament that once again, the taxpayers were paying for a jamboree and a holiday for the minister and his buddies for one simple reason. Last year, they took similar trips. There has been no report back whatsoever or any tangible result that was realized, and the assertion that as a result of those trips, the downgrade of the country was averted, I just simply dispute that on the basis of the facts before us. So again, now we hear that they are going on a trip. There has been no information as to, well, who were these investors that were going to be met and what their interest is as far as South Africa. Are they already invested here? Are they long-term investors or are they investors into the bond market? Taking into account that during the budget speech, Minister Pravin Gordhan announced that he was going to be borrowing a further 149 billion rand in order to meet the interest payments of 169 billion rand on the 2.2 trillion rand debt that we have. So certainly if this trip was to go and borrow more money in order to service the interest payments on an already indebted situation that we are in, I'm just saying that it was in itself a wasteful expenditure because there is absolutely no basis for us to continue borrowing money at this rate for the reasons that I've already commented publicly about in the past.
Mr. Khadima, with regards to the controversies and debates we've seen around the Minister of Finance, Previn Gordon, there's also rumours coming to the fore and speculation, of course, of a cabinet reshuffle. Just your views and comments around that.
Cabinet reshuffle, I have long maintained that it was overdue. And the quicker that the president can do a cabinet reshuffle, the better for all of us as a nation. Because certainly right now, all the economic indicators and the performance is not where we desire it to be. And there is an urgent need to take decisive action to ensure that we can clearly deal with the very pressing issues that are facing this nation. That will ensuring that we can tackle unemployment, inequality, poverty, and at the same time grow this economy at the rate that it can create jobs and ensure that we have got equity. Right now, we are not doing well at all, and if the president does not reshuffle his cabinet to ensure that there can be delivery, he will find himself being reshuffled.
Thank you very much, Tsepo, for your comments and your views there. Political analyst Tsepo Khadima joining us on the phone line. We continue the comment coming in here. We are joined now by Botsang Moila, a political analyst as well. Good afternoon to you, Botsang. Thank you for joining us here. Your initial reaction to the news that the presidency has confirmed that the Minister of Finance needs to return to the country.
Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your viewers. Yes, we have picked that up happening, but in my view, it is very strange actually whether the minister in the treasury left the country without the knowledge of the head of state and or without the authorization of the head of state. However, it has also come to my attention that tomorrow there's a case scheduled in court with the Oak Bay versus the four major banks in South Africa, whereby the treasury has been cited to be part of that judicial process. Now, it is very strange that both the Minister of Finance as well as the Deputy plus the Director General of Finance will leave all of them the country at the same time to focus on another business and leave a judicial case pending. But this may just be, a very strong step from the president firming up his position to say that the Minister of Finance must return home to come and focus on the business at home instead of the roadshow trip abroad, especially to the London and the UK.
What details do we know with regards to this roadshow and what the purpose of this roadshow was? Is it really needed at this point?
Well, it is not clear what kind of roadshow. I've been, vetted myself very well with the documents and the content of what kind of roadshow are they attending to and so forth. But like I said, one thing that I've observed over the last year or two, Minister Gordon is the only cabinet minister in South Africa, and you can go and check your guys, who always travels with his deputy. It is unheard of. You'll never find the Minister of Home Affairs traveling with the deputy, the Minister of Trade and Industry traveling with the deputy, as well as the DG to all the events. That's one element. Another element is South Africa is a member of BRICS at the moment. Our focus is supposed to have been on the developing world countries and member of BRICS, as well as the African states. If you look at the itinerary of the Treasury leadership in the last 2 years, very little, if not none in some instances, of their trips abroad are to African states, are to the AU development engagement, are to the BRICS development engagement, except when they accompany the president. Most of their foreign trips are focused on going to London or to the US. So it is actually also contrary to the government policy of focusing on making relations with development countries and development states, as well as regional bodies like the SADC, regional bodies or international bodies like BRICS, of which we belong to. So it's a little bit worrying that what is this in New York and London on trips and roadshows when we're supposed to be conducting roadshows actually with African states, actually with Asian states that we are getting into, economic trade and business with. But let us see if the Minister of Finance will he defy the president and continue with his roadshow, or will he come back home and face what he's supposed to be facing in South Africa? I've heard people are saying, well, there's been a looming, cabinet reshuffle, and Minister Previn has been on the forefront of the cabinet reshuffle. Maybe this is it. We'll see how it unfolds.
Regards to, like you mentioned, the looming or speculation of a cabinet reshuffle, how much do we have to go on that this is actually something that could be on the cards?
Look, we all know that there's a vacancy in the cabinet at the moment. So the cabinet reshuffle or filling of that vacancy, it is important, especially an important post as the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry. So whether we like it or not, that has to happen. However, there's been a number of things that has happened that has actually implicated and or indicated to the nation that whether they are accepting or denying that there is no drinking from one cup between the President and the Minister of Finance. It has become very clear to many people. The Minister of Finance has defied the President of the country over on various issues. The Minister of Finance, I have mentioned before, has defied the nation when he was instructed to form part of a cabinet executive committee that consisted of 3 ministers to look at the fees must fall funding. He never even attended one of those meetings. He refused to work with one of the ministers who was forming part of that committee. So that was a clear defiance of a directive from the executive, which is the president of the country. And in this instance, I'm of the view that the moment has arrived, the time has arrived that the president should make a decision regarding the position of Minister Pravin Gordhan.
With regards to the Minister of Finance, Pravin Gordhan, there's been a lot of controversy, a lot of debate around him, a lot of issues around Treasury as well, and Treasury being unsupportive towards transformation. This will obviously raise a lot of eyebrows based on the discussions that the country's been having around the Minister of Finance.
Well, that has been, and that's why it's shocking to many of us that the president has not acted for the best interest of the country. I am of the view that the Minister of Finance should have long been removed from that position. There's been defiance, there's been allegations, and please note, it's allegations and they were treated as allegations. There's been, the MPA and court cases that are pointing to him. There's pending court cases. The case of the rogue unit within SARS is still pending in the head of the minister. Some new allegations which were confirmed by the former DG of Finance came out last week regarding Minister Pravin Gordhan benefiting from the monies which were intended for MK operatives and all that. There's a number of this. There's been actually a broken down relationship that started 3 years back, and it only popped out 2 months back between the Minister of Finance as well as the Commissioner of SARS, and which has actually impacted on the operation of that agency that belongs to the Department of Finance or to the Ministry of Finance. Now, with all these things picking up and impacting on the morale of employees within the South African Revenue Service, within Treasury, and impacting on the currency of the country and the economic development of the country, I do not think it is in the best interest of the country that the minister should remain in that position.
Very much, Mr. Moila, for your comments. We appreciate you talking to us. Political analyst Botsang Moila joining us on the phone there. We continue to get reaction and comment coming in here on ANN7. We are now joined on the phone line as well by Mosire Tsiane, South African Liberty Foundation representative, joining us now. Good afternoon to you. Just your initial reaction and comment to President Jacob Zuma instructing the Minister of Finance, Mr. Pravin Gordhan, as well as his deputy, to return back to the country.
Well, we view it as a serious move. We have high expectations ourselves. We're saying that these are the times that the president should exercise his constitutional right of choosing or changing. He can do whatever he wants with whoever minister he wants. But our expectation ourselves is that we wish that the president should call them back so that he can change and put a minister who's going to push for nothing else but radical socio-economic changes that must happen in South Africa. And this recall by the president that he's recalling them to come back in South Africa, we are expecting with enthusiasm that there's going to be an effective change in that cabinet. Minister Pravin is not being the minister that we consider the minister that is looking forward to the changing of the economic cycle, particularly uplifting of black people from non-participation in the true economy of South Africa. So we don't see both of them, that is his minister and the deputy, serving black South Africans or other South Africans at large, because once you address the black South Africans, you are addressing the major population of South Africa, and you are likely to see an improvement in your economic cycle. There's going to be a large economic improvement of all South Africans in general. So we are saying that this recall, particularly, it gives us this enthusiasm, and it gives us an instinct that there's nothing else but an expectation of change of the minister together with his deputy from the portfolio in which they are serving. And we would want to see that change happening for the benefit of South Africa in general.